And, God gave me a message and he said, she's idolized everywhere. There's posters of her, everywhere there's, coffee mugs and pictures but there's nobody, nobody's praying for her. And he said, I had mercy on her soul because of all the trauma and the abuse that she suffered as a child. She is a product of the wounds of her childhood. I saved her by a hair. That's what I remember that. And God.
Sir, some question here from Ray Carlos Rosales. Can you share more about your vision of Marilyn Monroe in Purgatory? What was the experience like and what message do you believe it carried?
So I shared this on a YouTube channel. I seriously didn't think anybody would see it, but praise God, a lot of people have seen it. But about, I don't know, a long time ago, about 15 years ago, I think, I actually had a revelation. I know it was from the Lord. And I actually saw Marilyn Monroe in Purgatory. And I saw her in the lowest level of Purgatory. And I saw her in pain. She was suffering. She was, going through a very intense purification. And, God gave me a message and he said, she's idolized everywhere. There's posters of her, everywhere there's, coffee mugs and pictures. But there's nobody, nobody's praying for her. And he said, I had mercy on her soul because of all the trauma and the abuse that she suffered as a child. She is a product of the wounds of her childhood. I saved her by a hair. That's what I remember that. And God asked me to do masses for her. And I would walk to my parish and I was like, I can't do this. I can't say I want 3 masses for Marilyn Monroe. I want to look like a crazy lady. And I completely disobeyed and I ignored God. And I was starting to see her everywhere, right? She's just, and I know it was God convicting me and I ignored it. And 6 months later, had the same dream. I saw her suffering and God saying, she's suffering and you have not obeyed me. And the Lord told me her real name is Norma Jean Baker. It's not Marilyn Monroe. That's her stage name. There's a book out there from Maria Sima, I think, that she would see the souls in purgatory. The book that's called Get Us Out of Here basically said that John Lennon and Marilyn Monroe went straight to heaven. And I actually met a man that was friends with Maria Sima's spiritual director. And what happened in that part of the book is that they tried to put Hollywood stuff that was false. It wasn't true. There is no way, unless you're a martyr, unless you're like a hermit and you're very holy, you will not go straight to, Padre Pio told us that we will all pass purgatory at some point, unless we're like a completely, like a martyr, a true saint on earth. We're all going to be purified, right, before God. So I kind of feel that, I don't know why people believe this, but there's no way that she went straight to heaven. But the Lord showed me that she was suffering. And so, she's doing reparations. So I decided to share that with people so they could pray for her. And I got all these priests and monks from different countries saying, we did a mass for Marilyn Monroe. We're praying for her. But I've had experiences, several experiences where I've seen souls in purgatory asking for prayers. I've actually seen family members of mine that are in purgatory asking me for their prayers. And like I said, I'm not a saint. I'm a sinner. It's just the grace that God has given me. And I feel that a lot of people don't pay attention to their dreams. I feel that if you dream of a family member or a friend that has passed and they're in any of your dreams, it's probably an indication that they need prayer and they're probably in purgatory. And we've all dreamt of somebody that's passed away. So I feel that maybe a lot of people don't pay attention to that, but we do need to pray. We need to continue to pray for those people in our family because we don't know where they are. But I did have an experience with Marilyn Monroe. And I think the reason that God gave me the experience with Marilyn Monroe is because she had 12 abortions, some miscarriages, but she had 12 abortions in her biography. So I feel like maybe because we've both had abortions and maybe we're both do television, I'm not famous. Okay. Like I said, I'm a sinner. God is the glory for God, but I feel like there's a connection, and so my father also idolized. We used to have posters of Marilyn Monroe in my house when I was a young child. And I feel there's a connection. And I think that's why God has asked me to pray for her specifically.
Did you still praying for her up to this day?
I always pray for her. I still see her, we see her everywhere, but I'm always praying for her. And I actually, you know what I do? I actually ask her to help me too, because no matter where the soul in purgatory is, they're basically holy. They don't offend God anymore and they pray for us. So I actually ask her to help me out as well, but I pray for her constantly.
I'm curious, did you use her original name or the Marilyn Monroe when you say mass to her?
No, her original name. I did the original name, and I was there at
Oh, okay, okay.
you have to attend the mass, and receive communion. So I was, the priest would hold up the Eucharist and say, "Oh, this mass is for Nora Jane Baker," and I'm like, it's Marilyn Monroe. But no, I used her original name.
When you saw her in Purgatory, what she looked like? I mean, the one we saw in Hollywood, her glamorous.
That's probably what had her. I saw her in fire. I saw her and I heard her screaming like in fire, like purifying, like an intense purifying. But Jesus also showed me why she was there. So the vision went from her burning and purgatory, and then he showed me why she was there. And I saw, so it was the vision switched, and I saw her walking into like a cabaret, like a restaurant where there's live music. And Jesus was always walking behind her, but she never turned to look at him. And she was wearing very immodest, provocative dress. And she had like the feather boa and a white dress. I actually found a picture of exactly what I saw. I found a picture of her and on the internet, exactly what I dreamt. And she sat at a table and with men, and at the table next to her, there was married men, and she was flaunting her cleavage at these men and being very lustful. And Jesus was always standing behind her. And when she would do this, right, she was being immodest and committing basically like adultery. Jesus' head would bow in sadness. And, I felt as if God was saying she was always looking for love and for a man to love her deeply for who she was. And I was always there, but she never turned to look at me. And that's what I saw. And then the scene went back to her suffering. And that's when God asked me to please offer masses for her because she was suffering a lot.
I'm curious about her lineage. I mean, how she got in purgatory. I mean, despite what she do in her life. I'm curious about...
She was abused as a child.
Yeah.
So she was sexually abused. And what I felt in my heart and my soul is that God had mercy on her soul, because what happens is when we're wounded as children and we're broken, it leads you to, sometimes to other wounds and other sins. So she was basically a product of her childhood wounds. She was abandoned by her mom and her dad as well. And she was abused by I think it was like neighbors, sexually abused as a child. And so God had mercy on her childhood.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a powerful story. I mean, those who are watching right now here in the Philippines will pray for her.
I have to pray for celebrities, and
right.
Nobody praying for them, that have gone and celebrities today. Like I remember Father Groeschel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he had a show on EWTN, and he adopted Madonna. He said, I'm gonna pray for Madonna until the day I die and until I get to heaven. I'm gonna adopt her and pray for her because she needs somebody to pray for her. And so, and these celebrities, they influence our children. They influence our culture. So we need to pray for them. They're lost. And the ones that have gone before us too, they probably don't have anybody to pray for them.
And from Emmanuel La Chica Lumibao, as a strong advocate for the unborn, how far would you go in speaking out against abortion? If you had the chance to identify and expose the illegal doctors you work with in the past, would you take that step?
Oh, I have. So I've spoken before Congress in the White House several times, and I've spoken before Congress in different countries where they're about to legalize abortion and they're debating to legalize it or not. And then I come in with OBGYN. We show them what an abortion is, and then I tell them my story. I actually was persecuted by Planned Parenthood. They wanted to take me to the Supreme Court in 2011 because I was exposing but I never exposed a patient. I never violated any type of HIPAA or privacy, so they didn't have anything on me. I've spoken before Congress in many countries, and I've been persecuted by them. I think they were even probably trying to throw me in jail at some point. I'm the type of person that I will go 100% for God. I'll go as far as I have to go, because what I did to my 3 children is very, very grave. And I have to do reparation. The type of Catholic is all for God or nothing.
And another